Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, honourable members of the Knesset, as you all know, the Arab-Israeli conflict has proven to be one of the most intractable in modern times. For nearly 100 years, a tidal wave of disinformation and dishonesty has been synthesized by various Arab Palestinian regimes and promoted by most of the world's media. The confusion has gotten to the point where the majority of the public, including many Jewish people, have lost sight of the fundamental argument that must be dealt with before any genuine peace can be achieved. At the heart of all Arab-Palestinian rhetoric lies one central claim. You, the Jews, are intruders. This is our land. We have been living here for centuries, and you have decided to take it from us. Once it has been established that the Jews do actually have a valid right to the land of Israel, then the violence, hatred, and disregard for life that has characterized the Arab-Palestinian position for 80 years can be judged for what it is. Unless that right is established, the Arabs will always claim that they have a valid goal, i.e. reclaiming a land that they feel is theirs. Once validity is granted to this goal, the debate as to whether or not all means, including violence, are acceptable to attain this goal becomes simply a matter of philosophy. What then is our claim to the land? God's promise in the Torah. God told Abraham, "I have given this land to your descendants. For 1,500 years the land of Israel was our home. And ever since then, Jews everywhere have longed to come home to their eternal heritage, to Jerusalem, the site of the Holy Temple, to Hebron, the burial place of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, and to Bethlehem, where Rachel weeps for her dispersed children and awaits their return." Even throughout the 2,000 years during which our people wandered from country to country, Israel has remained the national home of every Jew. From the beginning of our forced exile at the hands of the brutal Roman Empire some 2,000 years ago, until this day, no matter how far-flung our host country might be, every Jew has turned to face the Holy Land in his prayers 3 times a day. So central is this principle to our faith that Rashi, the foremost of the traditional commentators on the Torah, begins his commentary as follows. Rabbi Yitzchak said, "The Torah should have begun with the verse, 'This month shall be for you the first of the month.' For this verse introduces the first commandment given to Israel. And of course the Torah is primarily a book of laws. Why then does the Torah begin with the whole narrative of creation? The answer is this. If ever the nations of the world will say to Israel, 'You are robbers, you took the land of the 7 nations by force,' Israel shall respond as follows. 'The entire world belongs to the Holy One, blessed be He. He created it, and He can give it to whoever He wishes. He originally gave it to them, and then later He decided to take it away from them and give it to the Jewish people.' This is what Rashi says. From this perspective, the entire land of Israel, not just the coastal region or Jerusalem and Galilee, but all of Judea and Samaria, and indeed every tiny portion of the land, is part of an organic whole, an indivisible and sanctified unity. In this spirit, the great assembly of Agudas Yisrael, an assembly of Jewry's foremost sages in the pre-Holocaust era, declared in 1937, the Holy Land, whose boundaries were prescribed by the Holy One, blessed be He, in His Holy Torah, was granted to the nation of Israel, the eternal people. Any sacrifice of the Holy Land that was granted to us by God is of absolutely no validity. This explanation is, moreover, the only rationale that cannot be refuted by the Arabs, or the Americans for that matter. They also accept the Bible and believe in the truth of its prophecies. The Quran does not dispute the Jews' right to the land of Israel. And can you conceive of an American president telling his people that God's promise to Abraham is no longer relevant? Indeed, the connection between the land and our people is so well established that everywhere it is referred to as the land of Israel. For this reason, it is important to emphasize that this connection is rooted in the Bible's prophecies. It would not be desirable to place our claim in the land of Israel on the Balfour Declaration or on international agreements of the past century, for these agreements could be countermanded by other ones. After all, how favourable is the United Nations to Israel today? Nor is the fact that our people once lived in this land sufficient in and of itself to establish our claim to it today. If the American Indians would lodge a claim at the United Nations to all of America, would it be granted to them? When the Bible's prophecies serve as the basis for our claims, then many other arguments are effective in reinforcing this position. But when this foundation is missing, we have difficulty refuting the Gentiles' claims. You're robbers, because you took by force the land of the nations. After thousands of years of exile, our people have returned to our land. Every portion of the land over which Jewish authority is exercised was won in defensive wars, in which God showed overt miracles. Withdrawal from any land close to the borders of Israel would clearly degrade the security of the Jews and the Arabs living in Israel, putting life and limb at risk. No one is allowed to do such a thing, as it would show contempt for the sanctity and the safety of human life. So if we accept that Israel has a rock-solid and valid claim to the land, and withdrawing from that land is prohibited, what is the solution then to the conflict? Well, contrary to current political and media thinking, the most immediate step to solving this conflict is to actually settle the entire land. Wherever there is open space in Judea, Samaria, and the Golan, more settlements should be established. There's no need to displace Arabs or anyone. There's ample empty land. This should not be done with a fanfare. The idea is not to create an image, but to create a reality. When the land is settled by Jews, it will become obvious to all that we consider this as Jewish land, not theoretically, but practically. Indeed, the fact that the settlements is the issue which the Arabs most vehemently protest should make it clear that it is Israel's highest priority. It is the most pragmatic means at Israel's disposal to change the balance of power in her favor. Once widespread settlement becomes a fact, it will be impossible to turn back the clock. The Arabs, Palestinians outside Israel will appreciate that the borders will not be moved back. And those inside Israel will understand that their future exists in coexistence with the Jews, not with the struggle against them. Of course there will be vociferous protests at first, but they must be met with resolution. When this is done, the Arabs and Palestinians and the other nations will ultimately acknowledge the reality that Israel is serious about defending her own self-interest. This land will not be given away. For this purpose, it is important that new settlement be broad in scope. The same clamour of protest will be raised whether a new home is added to an existing settlement, or one new settlement is founded, or the entire land is settled. So why hold back? Indeed, self-imposed restrictions against settlement, such as the freeze declared by Israel 2 years ago, far from enhancing our position in the eyes of Washington and Europe and the UN, actually invited more pressure and protest. For it became obvious that such restrictions are being imposed only because in essence there is Israelis who feel that they don't really belong there. Settling the land without restriction, by contrast, broadcasts a message of confident self-esteem. It shows the entire world that Israel is doing everything possible to maintain her security and will not be halted in that endeavour. The time has come to encourage and persuade the Israeli government to adopt a wholly different approach. Number one, stand firm, politely of course, and announce to the Arab world and our Arab neighbours and the rest of the world that we will not give up any part of our historic land which was given to the entire Jewish people for all time by the Creator of heaven and earth, and which we miraculously won back in legitimate wars of self-defense. 2, we must proclaim to the world that we are not prepared and not allowed to risk the security and well-being of our citizens, be they Jewish or Arab, for pieces of paper based on empty Arab promises. And 3, we will fully settle the whole of Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, so that all will see that it is indeed the land of Israel. In other words, the land of the Jews who live there. Thank you.